what happens in heart attack is, if you take the medications even a bit slowly, or sometimes you will not even know that you are having heart attack. As I said, there were two types. One was acute, the other was chronic. So in case of the chronic, sometimes you will not even know that you are having a heart attack, because there were certain compensatory mechanism. Means even if the blood flow to the heart is interrupted, or even if the heart is not able to perform its function, some other mechanisms took place, because of which the means the circulation was going on, at least it was compensating. But in case of the cardiac arrest, there will be no such compensation. Cardiac arrest is electrical, you can call it electrical, because as I said that the signals of the heart, these are generated by your SA node, and their signals are transmitted to your AV node. So what happens is, if these signals are not generated, or even if they are generated, they are not transmitted well, so that can lead to your cardiac arrest. And cardiac arrest is electrical, and heart attack is a purely physiological phenomenon. Okay, heart attack can lead to cardiac arrest, or there might be some other reasons as well. And as I told you, CPR, which is the cardiopulmonary resuscitation, it is usually given in case of the cardiac arrest. Okay, clear now? Okay. Jasmine, you asked me to repeat. Is it clear to you? Is it clear to all the difference? Okay. So I hope it's clear to all. If you have any doubt, you can ask me, okay? So next we have rheumatic heart disease. So what is rheumatic heart disease? Now have you heard of rheumatic fever? So rheumatic fever, it is usually you can say a autoimmune disease. Okay, autoimmune disease. What happens in autoimmune disease? Your body eats up your own cells. Okay, we need immunity, but in case of, why do we need immunity? So that the foreign particles or the foreign agents that can be destroyed by our body, because of that we need immunity. But sometimes what happens is that the immune system, it is not able to recognize whether these tissues or whatever particles, they are not able to recognize whether these are foreign particles or whether these are something related to your body. Means they are not able to differentiate between your own body and the foreign ones. So these leads to the rheumatic heart disease, which means the body's immune system, it eats up its own tissues and including your heart. So this results in rheumatic heart disease. So if you consider our immune system as an army, okay, so if you consider immune system as an army, and the foreign particles, whatever they might be, the pathogens, the virus, the bacteria, the fungi, whatever they are, if they enter from outside, if you consider them as terrorists, so what is the role of the army? So they will kill the terrorist. But sometimes what happens is that the army, it is not able to recognize whether the individual is a terrorist or their fellow mate. So they are not able to understand whether the person they are trying to kill, that is a terrorist, or is it another army from their own group. So what they do is they kill their fellow beings. So they start killing, the army start killing their fellow beings. So this is what you call the autoimmune diseases. So this is what happens in case of autoimmune diseases. So in case of rheumatic heart disease also, sometimes what happens is that first you will have a infection, that will be usually, it is followed by a streptococcal throat infection. Streptococcal, Streptococcal. So you have heard of streptococcus, which is a bacteria. So sometimes what happens is that streptococcal throat infections occur. After that you get fever, rheumatic fever, which is you get a inflammatory illness. So, and it mostly usually occurs in case of children and young adults. So rheumatic heart disease is an autoimmune disorder. The antibodies that were produced during rheumatic fever. So why were the antibodies produced? To kill that streptococcus bacteria. To kill that bacteria, the antibodies were produced. But what happens is that the antibodies are not able to recognize whether these are streptococcal tissues or whether these are your own tissues. So what they start doing is they start harming your own body cells. So they start harming the body cells such as your heart, of the joints, and also of the skin. So when they start attacking your heart, so that is known as your rheumatic heart disease. Clear? Is it clear to all, or you want me to repeat? If you want me to repeat, then I will. Clear? Rheumatic heart disease. Is it clear or not? You want me to repeat it, or is it clear to all? Yes, okay. So that is rheumatic heart disease. After that, okay. After that we have infective endocarditis. Infective endocarditis. ENDOCARDITIS. Carditis. So infective means it is related to some kind of infection. Now you break the word endocarditis. If I break the word endocarditis, then it has two parts. One is your endocardium, which was the inner layer of the heart, and itis. Whenever I say itis, itis means inflammation. Okay. ITIS, itis. Whenever you see this word itis, then you will know that it is some kind of inflammation. When I say hepatitis, so it is sometimes related to your liver, so inflammation of the liver. So again, whenever you see this word itis, you will know that this is inflammation. So when I say endocarditis, now you will know that it is inflammation of the endocardium. Okay. So why does this inflammation of the endocardium happen? Usually after an infection, you will see that it is followed by inflammation. Whenever you will have infection, there will be inflammation. So it is infective endocarditis, means there is some kind of pathogenic mechanism in your body. So usually bacteria or fungi. So whenever these things enter your body or in your blood, then what happen is that they might go into your heart as well. Usually they go into the endocardium of your heart, and usually you will find them in the areas where there is more activity or where there is more blood flow. Because these organisms, they were mixed with the blood. So in the areas where there will be more blood flow, you will find these pathogens or these microorganisms, that is bacteria or fungi. You will find them usually in the these areas, okay, such as the heart valves. So you know how much activity the heart valves does, and the flow, blood flow, it takes place through your heart valves only. So whenever the blood goes there, so usually you will find that these microorganisms have colonized near your heart valves. Or sometimes what happens is that the areas of your heart, okay, that were affected earlier, so you will find these pathogenic organisms have colonized in those areas. Like, it is always easier to affect a damaged body than to affect a healthy one. Like, if I am already having a disease, then I am prone to getting more diseases rather than others because my immune system is depressed. So similar is in case of the heart. You will usually find it in case of the in near the sites of your heart valves or in the near the site of your heart defects. So these areas are more susceptible to infection. Okay. After this may be acute or subacute, and sometimes it is serious and it might lead to death as well. If you will not give proper treatment, it leads to death. Now, what leads to infective endocarditis? Means, when I say infective endocarditis, it is the inflammation of the endocardium because of some kind of infection. Now, what causes this infection? So there are three main predisposing factors. You can note that down. I'll give you the notes, but still you can write it down. One is bacteremia. BACTERAEMIA. Bacteremia. BACTERAEMIA. Bacteremia. And next is depressed immune response. Depressed immune response. And third is heart abnormalities. First one I said is bacteremia. So what is bacteremia? Bacteremia, in simple terms, it means bacteria in your blood. So whenever bacteria enters your bloodstream, then as you all know, the blood flows into the heart, then again it comes out from the heart. So this blood, it takes the bacteria along with it, and then it goes into your heart. And sometimes what happens is that it might form blood clots, which is known as emboli. EMBOLI, emboli. So sometimes it forms the blood clots, and then this goes into your heart. In the heart, now you will find these bacteria which is mixed with your blood, and sometimes you will also find the blood clots. And from where does this bacteria enters? They usually enter through your mouth or through your skin. Okay, whenever we eat something or whenever our mouth is open, then we are prone to getting this bacteria inside us, and also through the skin. So this is bacteremia. Next is your depressed immune response. So if you do not have a proper immunity, now I told you to consider immunity as the army that we have inside our body. Now if that army is not well trained, or if that army has less number of people, so will it be able to defend the foreigners that are coming from outside, or the terrorists that are coming from outside? So it's the similar thing. As I told you, when this bacteria gets mixed with blood and it enters your body, that is one reason. But then if the army within your body is well and good and well trained, then that army will be able to kill the bacteria. But now if your immune response is depressed, which means if the army is not well trained or there are not many number of people in that army, So what will happen is that they will not be able to kill the bacteria or the foreign particles coming from outside. As a result, the pathogens, even with the less power, they will be able to attack your system, and when they go into your blood, then they will be able to enter your heart as well. Next we have heart abnormalities, which is another predisposing factor for infective endocarditis. So if I say heart abnormalities, it means, see, if you already have a cut or wound in your body, so that area is again prone to infection. We all know that. So what we do is we try to cover that area. We try to cover that cut. Because if the cut is already there, there will be chances of more infection in that area. So here it is the same case in case of heart abnormalities. So whatever heart diseases might be present, for example diseases of your heart valves, or sometimes the rheumatic heart diseases, so whatever it is, so these bacteria, they find it better to settle in a unhealthy endothelium than a healthy endothelium. What is endothelium? Endothelium, it is the lining of the endocardium. Okay, ENDOTHELIUM, endothelium. Endothelium or endothelial lining, that is the lining of your endocardium. So bacteria, they find it better to settle in a already diseased area than to settle in a healthy area. As I said, you are more prone to get infection in your cut or wound rather than in a healthy area of the skin. So these were the three predisposing factors for infective endocarditis. So if I sum it up, infective endocarditis means due to an infection your endocardium has inflamed. So now what can lead to this infection? One was bacteremia, which means bacteria has mixed in your blood and then the blood has reached your heart. Next was the depressed immune response, which means the immunity in your body is not working well. The army in your body are not working well to prevent the foreign particles from entering your body. So when these bacteria enter your body, the bacteria were not killed by the immune system. So as a result, they go to your heart. Next is the heart abnormalities. So when you already have an unhealthy endothelial lining or an unhealthy endocardium, then the bacteria, they find it better to settle in that area rather than settling in a healthy area. So these are the three predisposing factors. Is it clear? Okay. Okay, so I hope it's clear. So next we have cardiac arrhythmias. Arrhythmias, you can write the spelling A double R H Y T H M I A S, arrhythmias. Okay, A double R H Y T H M I A S, arrhythmias. So if I say cardiac arrhythmias, arrhythmia, so what does it mean? Again, I said if you break a word, then you will find out the meaning of the word. Arrhythmia. So if you break it, it's A plus rhythmia. So rhythm means something in a well coordinated way. You know, there is rhythm in music or whatever we say. So whenever we say there is a rhythm, so it means everything is in a coordinated way. Everything goes well accordingly. So if I say arrhythmia, A means absence. So what does arrhythmia means? Absence of rhythm. Means the functioning of your heart or the impulses in your heart that were generated, these are not going on in a coordinated way. There is lack of rhythm. So this you call as arrhythmia. So do you all remember what was the pacemaker of the heart? What was the natural pacemaker of the heart? I told you about this. There was a node. There was a particular node that was the natural pacemaker. Yes, SA node. So SA node is the pacemaker of your heart. And then what happens? The impulses generated by the SA node or the signals generated by the SA node, they go into your AV node. And from the AV node through the His-Purkinje fiber, they travel into your whole of the heart. So in arrhythmia, what happens is that whether the impulse is not generated properly by the SA node, or sometimes what happens is that even if it is generated, it is not conducted well. It is not conducted well throughout your heart. So this is your cardiac arrhythmia. So what it means is whether there is abnormal generation of impulse in your heart or whether the conduction of impulses is hampered. Okay, it can be because of these two reasons. Whether the impulse is not generated well, means the signal is not generated well, or the second is the signal is not transmitted well throughout your heart. So this leads to your cardiac arrhythmia, means the normal cardiac cycle. I told you about the cardiac cycle, which consisted of atrial systole, atrial diastole, ventricular systole and ventricular diastole. So these all were within the cardiac cycle that used to occur and lead to the beating of the heart. Now this systole, diastole, these usually occurred in a coordinated manner. I told you first was atrial systole, after that was atrial diastole. So there is a certain manner. So now in case of cardiac arrhythmia, they do not follow this manner. Okay, they do not follow this coordinated way. So this leads to the loss of rhythm of the heart or loss of coordination within your heart. Now what can it lead to? It can lead to your sinus bradycardia or your sinus tachycardia. Have you heard these two words before? Bradycardia and tachycardia. Have you all heard about these two words? Bradycardia and tachycardia. Okay, you can note that down. Bradycardia, BRADYCARDIA, bradycardia. Next is your sinus tachycardia, TACHYCARDIA. So bradycardia and tachycardia. So what the sinus bradycardia means? Whenever you hear this word bradycardia, you need to know that the heartbeat, it is reduced. Okay, the sinus rhythm, it is reduced or the heartbeat is reduced. Next is your sinus tachycardia. So here you need to know that your heartbeat is increased in case of tachycardia or sinus tachycardia. So what was the normal heartbeat in a minute? What was the normal range of heartbeat? 60 to 70. It's actually 60 to 80 or 100. Okay. So sinus bradycardia, it means it is your heartbeat is less than 60 per minute. In case of sinus bradycardia, when your heart is beating slower, then it needs to beat. So since it's slow, so it will be less than 60. And in case of sinus tachycardia, it is beating more. So the heartbeat is more than 100 beats per minute. So this you call as sinus tachycardia. Okay, clear? Bradycardia and tachycardia, one is less heartbeat, another one is more heartbeat. So if it is less than 60 beats per minute, you call it bradycardia, and when it is more than 100 beats per minute, you call it tachycardia. Clear? Clear? Bradycardia and tachycardia? Or you want me to repeat this? Okay, clear. So now, why is it important to know about bradycardia and tachycardia from a physiotherapy point of view? The thing is, you need to know what is the heartbeat so that you know whether the vitals are stable or not. There are other vitals as well, but also you need to know the heartbeat, because if the person heart is beating more and you make the person do some vigorous exercises, so don't you think the heartbeat will be more, it will be even more than 100? So you need to check first, okay, whether it is tachycardia or bradycardia. And even when the heartbeat is less, so you need to know that there is something wrong with the impulses of the heart. So now if you make the person exercise, the person will need more amount of oxygen, the oxygen demand will be more, so the heart needs to beat more. But what will happen is the heart is not able to beat more, so ultimately there will be lack of oxygen in the entire body. So you need to check this, whether the heartbeat is within the normal range. And I told you how to check the pulse. I gave you the notes and I also gave you some videos regarding that. So I hope you all know how to check the pulse. Do you all know, or you want me to explain that to check the pulse? You want me to explain that, how to check the pulse or your heartbeat, or do you all know that? Means, was it taught before? Yes, was it taught before? Like you all know how to check it, how to check your pulse, or you want me to say about it? Okay, explain once. See, as I say, what you do is you all try to check your own heartbeats. Okay, as I say how to do it, you all do it by yourself as well. So you take one hand and you place the other two, the index finger and the middle finger of the other hand on the radial side of the opposite hand. Radial side means below your thumb. Okay, in your wrist, radial side means on the side of your thumb, on your wrist. You need to place the two fingers, and when you place the two fingers, you will feel the heartbeat. You will feel a throbbing effect against your fingers. So you need to check that for 1 minute. If you cannot find it, what you do is you try moving your fingers a little bit, or you try pressing harder. You will feel a kind of throbbing effect in your wrist. So that is your pulse or your heartbeat. So how many you feel during a minute is the heartbeat per minute. Or what you can do is, sometimes you will not have much time to check it for 1 minute. So what you do is, you check it for like 30 seconds, and after checking it for 30 seconds you can multiply it by 2. So that will also do, but you need to find out it in a correct way. Or you can also find it in various areas, such as your popliteal area, which is behind your knee. You can find it that area as well, but I have included only two, that is on your wrist, which is the radial pulse, and another one was on your neck. So what you do is you sit straight, you turn your head to one side, and you place your fingers below your ears, and then you will find another throbbing effect, that is of your jugular, that is the jugular pressure. So you call it the jugular pulse. Okay, I have sent you video links in your group before only, so you go and check those videos. So I hope it will be clear by watching them. Okay. Yeah, I also gave you the notes, and I also gave you the video, and I explain it to you now as well. So what you do is you go and check those videos, and you will know how to check the pulse. So in the next class what you do is you check your own pulse. Okay, you check your own pulse and you let me know how much did you find it. Only then you will be able to understand how to check it. Is it clear? In the next class, everyone tell me what is your heartbeat and what is your pulse. Means pulse is only your heartbeat, so I want to know how much is it. Everyone, okay? Clear? Okay. You check the videos once, then you will understand it practically. This meeting, it might get disconnected after some few minutes, okay? After 4 or 5 minutes it might get disconnected, then you connect again, okay? If I don't finish this topic, not for a longer time, I'll end it soon. So next heart abnormality, what we have, heart disease, is asystole. Asystole. Now A means, I told you, when you see this word or this letter A, it means there is absence. So there is, when there is asystole, it means there is some absence in the electrical activity. So in case of the asystole, there is no electrical activity in the ventricle, means your ventricles are not contracting, and when your ventricles are not contracting, the blood is not able to go out either through your aorta or through your pulmonary artery. So blood is not being filled into these two vessels. As a result, the ECG, which shows the electrical activity of the heart, it will also show a flat line. So what happens in case of asystole means there is no electrical activity in the heart chambers, especially this happens in your ventricle, and when there is no electrical activity, there is no cardiac output. So when the heart is not pumping, then the heart will not able to pump out blood. So this is your asystole, and this can also lead to your cardiac arrest. As I told you, cardiac arrest was an electrical phenomenon. So when there are no impulses or lack of transmission of impulses, this leads to asystole, means the cardiac output is also reduced, and then this can also lead to your cardiac arrest, and ultimately this can lead to death. Clear? Asystole. Is it clear? Asystole. Or you want me to repeat this? Okay. Okay, then if asystole is clear, we will wind it up here today. Okay. So today we learned about rheumatic heart disease, infective endocarditis, cardiac arrhythmia, and asystole. Okay. I'll send you the notes. I hope you have understood till here, and then you go and watch the videos, and in the next class you let me know your heartbeat, everyone. Okay, tell your classmates who have not joined the class, tell them as well to find it out. Okay, and if you do not understand even then I'll explain it to you again. Okay, so CR, you give me the attendance for today's class. Is the CR here? Yes. Okay, give me the attendance, so we'll wind it up here. Oh, CR is not here. It's okay, any one of you can give me the attendance. You can note that down. Okay, so we'll wind up the class now.